Seeing smiles parade around town. We could dance for miles at the Rose Bowl. It's a huge party, hanging with the nouns, and we're just getting started. Somebody say hey. Somebody say hey. Somebody say hey. Somebody say hey. Oh. Let's go! Put your noggles on, it's time to celebrate. We got them good vibes, it's time to elevate. Put your noggles on, it's time to celebrate. We got them good vibes, it's time to demonstrate. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Come on. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Let's go. Put your noggles on. It's time to celebrate. We got them good vibes. It's time to elevate. Put your noggles on. It's time to celebrate. We got them good vibes. It's time to demonstrate.
I was laughing here because I got my man Rudo up here, and he unmuted while the music was still going on. I'm like, this guy is chomping at the bit, dude. Like I've seen him a blast Maxi, and like this guy couldn't even wait. He's like, let me. He's like, he sent the request right away. He unmuted. The music was still going. I'm like, this motherfucker over here,
Someone,
Rudo.
someone's got to do it. It's normally Cardno.
It's normally Cardno. Rudo, brother, GM, welcome.
GM, boys and girls, man. Every time I hear like Cardinal or like you see April and you English and Crusher and everything like that, I just think back to how long, dude,
We've been doing this.
you guys have been running these spaces and I have been participating in these spaces. It feels like years at this point. It actually has been
Well,
years.
it has been years. It feels like years. So let's reset the room, and then we'll get into that. So everybody, welcome. This is the Little Noun Show. We do this show every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern for the Little Nouns community, but we always actually do some cross collaborations, and then that way everybody, the Little Nouns community gets to meet some other people working outside of our little ecosystem, and vice versa. So we can do a little cross pollination. And as Rudo has mentioned, we have been doing this for Little Nouns specifically, about a year and a half, we have been funded by them, and we started at a project. That's actually where I met Rudo, and I remember him coming on the Little Nouns show, and I mean, sorry, it was for Three Landers, and it doesn't really matter, but it was a project, and this motherfucker comes on, dude, and he's just like really intelligent, articulate. So I'm like rushing him off stage, you know. I'm like, this guy's trying to like take over my gig. Like I had just secured like this host kind of space, and it was like my first move in Web3. And I'm like, damn, dude, this guy like he's coming, he's gunning. Since then, Rudo's become one of my closest friends here in the space. Love him 100%. We did mention Little Downs. We are funded by the Little Nouns DAO. That's an amazing basically one-to-one fork of Nouns DAO. We do fund builders over here. So whether you're a content creator, whether you're a coder, whether you do art, tons of stuff that you add value anyways, we do fund you that if you will proliferate the Nouns brand. So I don't know what the treasury is at to date, just because Ethereum keeps going up along with Bitcoin, which has gone ridiculous. It was just like just over 1 million, and now like we're about to hit 2 million. I don't know. So we have a lot of money, guys. And if you want money, and I think you like money, and you like Web3, and if you don't like money and you don't like Web3, you probably shouldn't be in this space. You should go like listen to like a sportscast thing or do whatever. I highly encourage you check out Little Nouns DAO. Actually, our homie B Check does a fantastic spaces, the modern market, and has a snapshot. He's also funded by Little Nouns DAO. Tons of builders over there. We keep crushing it. So just throwing a little shout out to the Little Nouns DAO since they do sponsor us. But we're going to talk about Blast. For those guys that that know me, I've been very heavy into the ordinal space the last year, and I really haven't put an eye on Ethereum. It's felt stagnant. I think from an NFT standpoint, it's felt stagnant. I know there's a lot of collections doing stuff, but I did feel like there was like a big, I don't know, increase in lending and other products, DeFi stuff, obviously tokens. And I have a thesis on Blast that it's gonna like rejuvenate the industry, like of just like you see a lot of legacy collections doing well, but you don't see a lot of new stuff. And there's these L2s, and they've existed for a while, and I don't think there's much differentiation from them. Some have geared towards more gaming, doing all that stuff. But from like this consumer standpoint, I think this is going to be Ethereum 2.0. There's going to be like this narrative where, for a while when Solana was $120 and Ethereum was still $2,000, it was like, oh, Solana is like the god chain. It's just, it's infinitely better tech, and Ethereum's dead, and it's just like the tech looks so much better at $120 as opposed to, $40, $50 or whatever. And now you see Ethereum running, and people are bullish on Ethereum, but those kind of things are still there where it's like, well, people are sick of gas, like in 2021 you didn't really care because number go up, and so if you spend 300 on on gas, you're like, that's cool, like this is worth 10,000, it's going to be worth 15,000. It was just about pressing a button once and then pressing it again and having more money in your bank account, right? And ideally the time between those pressing of those two buttons was as short as possible. So if you could knock that out in an hour, fantastic. If you had to wait like 3 days, like that's fine, in like a week or whatever. But now you have Blast coming. And I just think, and we'll get into it. I don't want to monologue too much of it, but I'm the short of it is I'm really, really excited to have this. I did invite New Blast City. I know Cappy, I worked with him in a previous project. He's a community manager, so definitely want to get into with them. We are a DAO, Little Nouns DAO, and T-Mobile, who's a homie and a builder over in Nouns and Little Nouns. He's going to talk to us about Pluto Misfits, which is basically off of the Nouns, I guess, just methodology, kind of the same DAO prospects. There's a little bit of twists. We'll get it into them. I know that they won. I forget exactly what it is. It was like the top 46 like builders, ideas. I don't know. We'll get into it. T-Mobile, and of course Rudo, the the Blast Permable, who's front ran everybody. He's like, bro, this shit's gonna be big, and I agree with you. Like I talked with Eddie early, like I saw it, and when it got flooded a little bit, I was like, please FUD this. I don't want too many people bullish because then it makes me a little more bearish. But now that there's been like some FUD, even though that's kind of turned around, like that made me extra bullish. And Rudo was like, all right, dude, I'm gonna be like the Blast man. Like I became the Ordinals guy a year ago, and Rudo's like, I'm gonna be the Blast dude. So um we're going to do a quick market report, but I just wanted to kind of lay out the show, who we're going to bring on. We do a market report and a Nounish news segment in the beginning of the show. So thank you. Bear with us. We will get into the Blast stuff. Cardinals at an NFT Barris. He usually does the Nounish recap, the Nounish news. So we are going to skip that segment. We'll do a quick a market recap for you guys because this is a weekly show. And I know a lot of people who listen might not be in tune on a daily basis. So we do a weekly recap. And without further ado, we'll pass it on to Huda, our NFT strategist, crypto extraordinaire from Crypto Slam. Huda, take it away, my friend.
Well, thank you for dude, I'm gonna love and hate this show because I've been itching to learn more about Blast, and I have zero exposure, like none. And
You're not gonna make it, my friend.
I'm gonna regret it so hard. I mean, I already do. And then I think I learned today that it's probably too late, but maybe not. I'm going to fire off. I mentioned earlier these smooth brain questions.
It's not too late, bro. It hasn't even got started, bro. I
mean,
my goodness. You might should have maybe like bridged some like blur blast, but we'll get into it anyways. Let's do the market recap. We have a lot of people over here.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. Well, I'm going to start by telling you this, and I mean it. I am incredibly nervous right now. It's just something about this market. This is something I usually feel before a big mint, like Quantum Cats, a few weeks back. Crazy nervous for that, and all of a sudden I feel that way now. It's like a spider sensor or something, and again, it's because of the market. I'm looking around right now, and I can see and sense this is all fueled by anticipation of the Magic Eden Ethereum marketplace that's coming tomorrow, the Blast mainnet launch, which we're chatting about today, that's coming Thursday, and traders finally saying fuck it and getting into Bitcoin ordinals. So all those things, man, making the spidey senses tingle. Let me throw some numbers at you guys from the market to put things in perspective. This data, of course, coming from Crypto Slam. Last week, global NFT sales hit a 9-week high with 327 million in sales. Big week of sales, guys. It was pretty nice. Trade profits also hit a 9-week high with sellers winning trades here, 9 million in the positive. Unique buyers hit a 1-year high with 416,000 unique buyers. Last time we were higher was exactly 1 year ago, so this time last February. This feels different though, right? There was a lot of excitement this time last year, but I think a lot of us thought that wasn't real, or maybe not sustainable is more like it. Again, it feels very different here. English, I don't know if you could check Discord because I have a couple tweets that you could hopefully pin for me. I can't pin stuff for some reason. but it'll help give some visuals for this part here. While you're doing that, though, I'm going to continue on the unique buyers because there's something really cool there. So I mentioned we hit this 1 year high, and we're actually up
Sorry, dude.
18.
I pinned it up, man.
Oh, dude, you're a gangster. Thank you, sir. Yeah, yeah. Peek at those just while I'm going through here because it's the charts that are kind of highlighting what I'm talking about here. But yeah, 1 year high for buyers, up 18% actually from the previous week, but unique sellers fell 4% here. Less people selling, more people buying. It's pretty clear what that does to NFT prices. So yes, average sales prices climbed 18% in the past week to 135 bucks. It's another 9-week high here. Now, for the month of February, we're at over $1 billion in NFT sales. That is now our third consecutive month over $1 billion. And the last time we saw that was the first half of 2022. Just a really spicy time here in NFTs. And I feel like I say this way too much, but we're just getting started. I think, especially if you look at those charts, I think that makes it very, very clear. Now, what's doubly interesting, or maybe triply interesting, I think I made those up, but I think there's a couple things I'm going to talk about here that we can apply to Blast. So, NFTs, we are early in the cycle right now. At the same time, Bitcoin is also very, very early in its cycle. So in one of those charts, I pointed out that sales, with all these sales and wild floor prices we're seeing on Bitcoin, Node Monkeys, for example, zero point 0.4 Bitcoin floor, OMB, I think are near 1 Bitcoin. That is with an average unique buyer count of just 3 to 6 million a day. Okay, for perspective here, Ethereum on average has 10 to 15,000 a day, and Solana has 15 to 30,000 a day. So a pretty big separation between these ecosystems. I still feel like a lot of my friends, and I know plenty of traders out there, think they missed the Bitcoin, craze, whatever's going on there. They are now starting to realize how early it is. They're starting to come in. Very, very exciting stuff there. I'm going to mention some pretty big happenings in the past week here, and I'm going to fire them off really in no particular order, but I do have to start with the biggest one here, which is Yuga Labs has a new old CEO. So Daniel Allegre announced that he's leaving Yuga Labs. Some speculate he was fired, but really the thing to focus on here is that Greg Solano, aka Garga, he is back in the captain's seat. He is steering that Yuga Labs ship once again as their CEO. Love that move. Now, there's a lot of moving parts there, but a big one is coming up tomorrow with their brand new marketplace, on Magic Eden. And this is a really big day for the Ethereum market in general, right? We've been having this debate about royalties for a while. It feels like years now. Creators insist that it's needed and that it works. We're going to find out here, I think, once and for all, because this marketplace does enforce royalties. Now, Magic Eden also has rewards for OG ETH traders. That's coming on March 13th. The Sappy Seals have a new physical collection dropping on Magic Eden. Guys, last week Solana crossed 5 billion in all-time NFT sales, so that's fantastic. The community relearned that Gary V's VFriends NFTs lose their perks and utility in May of this year. I was surprised people were surprised by that, but some are. NFT Paris took place over this past weekend here. We have ETH Denver coming up next. That's actually this week and over the weekend. NFT NYC in April, and I believe Consensus is coming in May. From NFT Paris, we got some cool news like NFT Stats joining Meme Land, which I think is so awesome. The CryptoPunks, I think we learned this there too, but releasing a 700-page book featuring all 10,000 CryptoPunks. That's coming this fall. G-Hose, the co-founder of Axie Infinity and Ronin, had 2 personal wallets drained of nearly $10 million. That one hurts. Frank is taken over as the lone CEO of D Labs and Dust Labs, which are now a combined entity. And I'm going to leave you on this one. I think it's super interesting. But did you guys know that the historic Rare Pepe #1 has lost its pinned image? I think that's crazy. But truly an example now of the token itself, the code being the value of an NFT. It's not the art. English, what do you think of that?
I don't know enough about to talk about it. I know that shit wouldn't fly on ordinals. Just 'cause
It couldn't even happen, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's why it wouldn't there. But it's not about ordinals. But I will just say one comment on your overall thing, your overall report rather. I am very in tune with the ordinals market. I'm going to use it as a proxy for the whole NFT market. I think it's fine. Um, Today I'm officially calling the first day of silly season. And why I'm actually saying that, so if for those that don't know what silly season is or what I'm referring to, is like let's say like late 2021, early 2022, where shit just doesn't make sense. So we're not like at the peak of silly season. Today's the first day. But why I say that is because we saw all-time highs on Node Monkeys. I'm going to use the things. Bitcoin Puppets, Quantum Cats are getting there. There's a whole bunch of other collections there. I did take a quick peek at Blur and I saw like Pudgy still like around the same price. Despite Ethereum pumping. The reason I say this is because one thing that I've noticed is as we've been going up in this bullish cycle where things, higher highs, lower lows, and you might have some volatility, but everything for the general, when you zoom out, is up and to the right. What you see in the short term, and we've seen this on Solana with Mad Lads, we've seen it on Ethereum with Pudgies, we've seen it on Node Monkeys over here on Bitcoin, is things will go up. And then when there's a big pump on the underlying asset, it will retrace. And then you'll sit there for a week or two until people feel comfortable at this new level, and then it'll go back up to that previous level if not exceeded. And that's why people buy NFTs, at least from an investment perspective. Like, I'm sure there's other reasons for it. Utility, if you believe in utility, community, definitely. Art, collecting, just because you like it and you enjoy it, whatever the case may be. But what I saw here was all of these collections, like Bitcoin went from 51,000 to 55,000 in a few hours. It's a little hyperbole. It was 51.50, and then we're at 54.5 or whatever it is now. But for all intent and purposes, 51 to 55 in literal hours, and nothing pulled back. I mean, you're talking about like a 3% or 5% pullback at max, and it's still all time high. And that makes no sense because we haven't seen it. And the only way that it makes sense is that it's silly season, and that's what happens during silly season. Things go up and then things go up more, right? And so we'll leave it at that. But I am really excited about Blast, dude. Like, Blast is really has been on my mind for a while. I think there's going to be a ton of builders that are going to like just flock in there to come out with products, because what I think is it's not necessarily the best tech that wins, from a blockchain. It's where people will build on and where the consumers are. So you need both sides of it. You need fabulous builders, and you need the consumers and the culture to be there. And that's why I think Solana does really well, because of the culture. Even though it went down to $8, those people still stayed there. They had marketplaces, they had products, they had their wallets, they had ways to exchange their Solana and gamble on shitcoins, whatever the case may be. And I think all the builders are going to go to Blast. And I think because people are familiar with Pac-Man, with Blur, with all that other stuff, I think we're going to see a really thriving ecosystem. And I think this specific L2 is going to make. There's a joke that goes on in spaces where, and I've heard this more than once, and I thought the same thing, that like there is no need for Ethereum now, because you have ordinals as the luxury secure chain, and then you have retail on Solana. And what's the purpose of Ethereum? But I think that's going to change now. I'm going to start off with Rudo. Give me your bull case for Blast, and I'm going to get into some of these guests. I know we have T-Mobile, we have Wiz, and we have somebody behind the new Blast City. Get to know them, get to see what they're building, and we'll learn a little bit over here. So, Rudo, welcome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for bringing some of your Blast friends. Um, just take us off. What do you think?
Dude, I mean, I think it's kind of a narrative as old as time in crypto. I mean, I feel like we say it all the time. It's you got to go, go where the liquidity is, go where, the attention is. And if you're there early enough, you get rewarded oftentimes. So I think if you think about what the total user count is at this point with Blast, or just the amount of people who have already bridged Ethereum, if you think of what total, what the total value locked is, it's fucking absurd. It's literally like record breaking shit that we haven't seen in a really long time. If I'm not mistaken, nearing close to $2 billion TVL, with pretty much, hundreds of thousands of users just primed to participate in these new products. So, and not only that, but a very, very highly incentivized ecosystem for early users and early adopters to these products. So, I mean, the bull case is as clear as day as far as I'm concerned. The mere fact that this isn't just absolutely flooding your timeline kind of makes no sense to me, but it's actually, in my opinion, more bullish, because what it's saying to me is people are mid curving the shit out of this. And English, you know what this is like already, because you and I were also very early to Ordinals days. I remember hosting Ordinal spaces in February, late January of 2023, and everyone was saying how dumb we were for talking about JPEGs on Bitcoin. Now look at it.
Hang tight a second, Rudo. Lil Nouns account, can you just go on mute real quick? Thank you, buddy.
Oh yeah. So I mean, let's just look at the facts here for a second. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and compare it to Ordinals, because I think it's a completely separate narrative. I think it's a completely separate target audience. But I will say, time and time again, my time spent in crypto since 2016, the amount of people I have seen who that mid curve narratives end up being the ones who cope pretty hard of the timeline. So I have been early to certain narratives, but I didn't go in with any size or conviction on many times. And I have learned that I have ended up regretting those things a shit ton. So I'm making sure I'm not making that mistake. Like you mentioned earlier, we're priming ourselves for what I deem as like kind of a super cycle. And I think we're early enough right now that if you can get on to these onto Blast or some of like let's say these top 10 Blast projects where all of this liquidity will be consolidating, you as an early adopter and an early user are going to get rewarded fucking crazy, man. Like people were all over the timeline. Oh, look at Jupiter. Look at this Jupiter airdrop. Look at this injective airdrop. Look at this blur airdrop. I don't think people are really quite understanding the amount of airdrops and liquidity and capital that's going to be just pumped insane into this ecosystem.
Yeah, no doubt. Huda, what's on your mind?
Yeah, what I
Did you
think
have a question?
it's
Comment? Go ahead.
it's a question, it's a comment, it's kind of all the above. Wanted to get your take on it. Right, we've got like what nearly $2 billion in that ecosystem right now, and I feel like there's a whole kind of category of trader who didn't get in because man, we just got over this brutal bear market, and not everybody had was liquid enough to actually do it. Now that we're going through this pretty killer crypto cycle, and I think some NFTs are actually finding people in profits again, is there this expectation that everyone's going to FOMO into it at this point, and that 2 billion might not look like much compared to what we're going to see here in a few months?
I don't buy the narrative that people were short on liquidity, and now that they're in I don't buy that narrative. I mean, like, I'm sure that's true of some people, and some people that have a shorter kind of but that's not what we're talking about. People didn't There was no liquidity because everybody was holding on to it. Like, you had 80 or 90% of it in, like, either like Ethereum, the underlying asset, or you had it in stables or whatever the case. That liquidity, like, as a whole, like, we're not talking about just individual people, has been around. And I think it's been around. People just didn't want to buy an NFT or whatever kind of product they were buying in crypto, because the moment you bought it for 1 ETH, it was worth zero point 0.8 the next week. And people just don't like number go down, like, regardless of the vibes. And so I just think right now that there is more money coming in, whether that's airdrop money, whether that's farming rewards, all this other stuff. I think people are just going to FOMO in because it's a new product. Like, new coin is good. New coin is good, in especially in a bull market. And I think I just do think that the value proposition of an L2 on Bitcoin that's brand new and is led by Pac-Man, that's come out with products that people have used, and it's going to have a marketplace, and it's going to have I just think it's going to be a seamless integration, and I think that's what people are going to FOMO to, because they're going to see everybody buying on there, and they're going to see
Yeah.
fantastic products. That's
On
my take.
Bitcoin was a slip, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
Blast. Sorry.
Yeah,
Just
but it's
2 hour did a 2 hour ordinal show.
Bitcoin on the mind. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's get into some of our guests over here. So let's say hi to New Blast City. I don't know. GM, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming, first of all. Tell us
Yo,
what's
what's
going
up,
on.
guys?
Should I call you New Blast City? Something else? What do you prefer?
You can call me Eel. This is the Gold Neil, one of the co-founders.
Neil, fantastic to have you. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. How you doing today, my friend?
Great, man. What a time to be in crypto. I missed this so much. A couple months ago, felt like it was never going to come back, but here we are. So stoked for Blast.
Here we go. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to find you through Cappy, who I've worked with in the past. Shout out Cappy. I jumped in the Discord. I saw Rudo was there, but then I found out later that Rudo's everywhere on Blast. And I don't know much about your project, and I would love to learn about it. What drew you to Blast? What's the concept behind New Blast City? What are you trying to accomplish? Is it art? Is it vibes? Is there anything more? Tell
Yeah,
us what's going on.
absolutely. So we're first and foremost, we're building a dystopian NFT brand on Blast. It's a concept we've been working on for actually quite a while. I mean, it took some turns once we decided that Blast was where we wanted to launch. But the core group, the three founders, me, Dabs, and Sphincter Bob, we've been working on sort of like the base art and some of the faction related concepts for about a year and a half, and just really waiting for the right opportunity to kick us in the ass hard enough to accelerate that process. So I've been involved with Blur like since the beginning. since day one. So I'm not a whale by any means, but like, seasons 1 and 2 were quite good to me. Towards the end of season 2, I was thinking like, okay, this is probably it. These NFT collections might go to zero. Like people are going to sell this token. And then Pac-Man did it again. He somehow pulled out this stroke of genius with this chain that wasn't just like a chain in name, but it also comes with these new features that just make like so much sense. I think everyone can agree that automatic yield on a chain is like just a brilliant idea, and I can't believe no one's done it. So pretty much when that was announced, and then more developer details emerged, like this incentives program, this competition, we knew like this is our opportunity. So all three of us have been in the space for years. We have tons of JPEGs. We've held a lot through the bear market, and we're in a lot of these communities. So, we think we have. It's a lot different when you're in it, but we think we had a pretty good idea of what we wanted to build. So, fast forward a little bit, decided we're launching on Blast. It gave us kind of some of the honestly, the perfect storytelling tools that we needed. So we decided to lean into this full dystopian. And basically, our collection takes place after this mysterious and cataclysmic event called the Blast. It just suddenly emerged, leveling entire cities, wiping out, civilization nearly as we knew it. And then now we're a little bit in the future, and humanity's starting to build. But it's not, of course, as easy as it sounds. Humans being humans, there are all these different factions in the collection. So there are actually 5 distinct groups, ranging from humans to machines to like weird kind of like animal hybrids to these exile creatures who are living outside the city gates in the wastelands. And what we want to build as sort of our phase 1 is really like a unique storytelling experience that hasn't really been done before in the NFT space. And we want to allow people to actually help dictate the storyline. So without giving too much away, we're going to build this interactive DApp where you can come to our protocol and you can get involved in key story events. And the first thing that we're going to start doing is start building, depending on which faction you own, which NFTs you own. That gives you more voting power towards different storyline decisions. And that's really kind of the first couple of concepts we want to explore is this how do we get people really invested in the story? How do we get people caring about which NFTs they own? And then just exploring the storyline together. So we wanted to really build we want to build a brand and we want to build IP. So we wanted something that has just a lot of meat to it and a lot of room to explore. So it's very mysterious right now. Each faction is going to have sort of different interpretations and motivations around the Blast, and together we want to uncover that with people.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, the native yield made a ton of sense to me. Like you said, like it's like why didn't anybody think about this? And it's cool that coming out with a PFP project, you did say IP based and storytelling. Um, when the people are here in your community and they're joining, what are they looking for in terms of rallying around the PFP community? Are they just bullish on Blast itself? And are they asking
Yeah.
about the products that's going on? Like I've seen a couple, notable people that I know. I think Tino's was one of them. What's I guess the general sentiment among the people that are, I guess, getting into these PFP communities early? Maybe just they're bullish on the protocol. They want to get into some PFP projects that they think will lead lead in terms of culture and just network effect, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I think the first thing is that there's probably going to be a gold rush into Blur. So I think right now people are stacking whitelists. Pretty much all the PFPs are going to be giving back developer drop. It should be very bullish. I know I've been trying to stack whitelists where I can as well. I think so. Some of the things that we have going for us, I think we've been in this space and we're in these communities all day, every day. So, I'm very tight with people from Proof and Yuga and Dev's super embedded in the Doodles community. He actually was an engineer for them. So I think sort of leveraging, building it from the ground up with our friends, like OGs coming in from all these different communities before things really accelerated, gave us, really nice groundwork. And then I think people know that. So everyone wants all these different whitelists. Some of them are going to work out, some aren't. But I think people are looking towards who might be a potential leader. And I think the boxes that they look for there is will the art stand the test of time, because there's going to be more projects coming into Blast. It needs to be something that's going to look great for months and years. And I'm really proud of what we've accomplished. I think our art is fantastic, and we haven't even shown some of the one of one faction leaders, which gets super crazy. And then I think people look for team and leadership. And even though we haven't given too much away of our actual plan, we have built some really cool experiences already that folks have interacted with. Our OG application experience on our website, our whitelist checker, and then our min experience is going to be super dope too. So I think people are already starting to trust that we can put these things together fast, and that we kind of have an understanding of what the degens want. And yeah, it's been great so far. Like honestly, exceeded all my expectations for growth. The community's been fantastic, and everyone's just super super excited to like lean right into Blast when it kicks off. And I really get the feeling like people want to be here building with us, which I love. So we want this to go on. We want to be the top sort of like PFP brand in the space, and we're gonna build our asses off to get there.
Yeah, very cool. And just for someone like myself that just know like general timelines, I know like the L2 I think kicks off in 2 or 3 days, and then things are going to move at a quick pace. What is the exact timelines? Like, is there going to be a rush for all these people who have been building like these pre-mint communities, so that when it goes live, you guys are ready to mint like on day one? Is that a thing? Is there, like you did say, it's kind of a gold rush? Are people,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So what is the timeline like for you guys? And maybe that would be, probably appropriate for a few other people that are trying to get in day one going, running.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't care that much about being first, but we do care about being early. So like I think we saw this, when ETH went from proof of work to proof of stake was kind of like people rushing to be that first collection, get that provenance, and just like launch the second that it was possible. And I feel like there was a little bit of a narrative there, but it was kind of ultimately all for naught, because nobody collects those. Apologies if anyone here does, but those collections kind of quickly died off. So we definitely want to be early within the first couple of days, within that first wave. Be super right there at the beginning. But we're not trying to race anyone out the door and push our contracts at that in a way that might jeopardize like the quality of our work. So the rough timeline is, we know that Blast, and we just learned this today, by the way, which is kind of crazy, but they finally confirmed that it's going live on Leap Day on the 29th. We don't have a time. I know a lot of the folks on the Blast team are in Asia, so I would imagine it's going to be pretty early, like US time. And from what I've heard, so I haven't heard too many NFT projects declare like when they're launching. I've heard of one of the bigger projects say Friday. We actually haven't announced yet. We're going to announce tonight. So this has been something that's had much conversation among the team and advisors. And we'll be announcing like in a couple of hours. But I can tell you that I'm leaning towards. So the team is actually going to be at ETH Denver, and a lot of people in the community have expressed, that they're going to be traveling as well. So like nobody wants to do the weekend. Even Friday is going to be a little dicey. So we're leaning towards Monday, but an official announcement will be coming pretty soon. And still waiting to hear from most of the projects what they're going to do.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like I don't think that there's like a provenance play the same way that maybe Bitcoin does have some a little bit of
Right.
it. But it is kind of a signal, right? When you're there like the first week, it really means that you were building before then. It's kind of like a social signal, like, hey, I was bullish when there wasn't, 10,000 projects to choose from, right? There was maybe, 100 or whatever the case may be. And I think that does kind of, speak, at least it gives some value addition in terms of like, hey, I was early to this. I saw the vision. I'll keep, pushing forward and providing value for the community, because I do see these opportunities. It's kind of the way that I take it at the very least.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, very cool.
And we're pretty much ready. The art's ready, the contract's ready. We're getting some additional audits. it's more about making sure, like, the final whitelist, the final, that everyone in the community is ready and settled. So we still have a little bit of comms work to do, but we're super excited. um, yeah, I cannot friggin' wait. It's gonna be awesome.
So in terms of like wallets, marketplace, bridging over, like what infrastructure has been built out? Do you know that from like the dev side, like having communications with like the Blast team? Like how has that
Yeah.
process been out in terms of like products, just creating like a less friction environment? Because I know I have the thesis that, even the smallest amount of friction will turn off a good amount of people. They really want that seamless experience. And that's I just intuitively, I haven't done a lot of research, but that has been one of like my bull cases for Blast, that there is going to be a lot of products and just like marketplaces, whether that's Blur or whatever the case may be. I'm assuming it will be Blur.
Yeah.
And yeah. So could you walk us through what that would be like a mint? Like, let's say, hey, I'm listening for the first time here. You've sold me on the idea of Blast. I'm going to jump in your Discord. I get whitelist. What's going to be like the experience of minting? I know you said you had a special mint experience, but outside of that, you don't have to get into those details. But just like
Yep.
a typical mint, a typical transaction, what is that going to be like?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So there are definitely some unknowns because we're in a very unique experience where people are trying to mint collections on a blockchain that hasn't been deployed yet. So we have the test net, obviously. I'm not the dev, by the way. I know most of what I'm going to say is from kind of the user's perspective. But we don't know exactly like what's the screen going to look like when you bridge over. So you've been able to bridge to Blast for months to earn points towards the Blast token drop. So that was sort of what they did at the end of Blur Season 2. There's two ways to earn. We don't need to get into all that, but there is a screen right now where you can deposit into Blast using their native bridge. It's super, super easy, but then you don't have access to the funds. That's going to be one of the things that changes on Thursday. So on Thursday, mainnet goes live. You actually have access to your ETH, and then you can bridge out, I believe. So the ecosystem.
Yeah, that was the pitch at least. That was the pitch at least.
Exactly.
It's like, we're gonna lock this up for a while, but we're gonna throw this into a multi-sig. Don't worry about it. We got you, dude. Trust me, bro. And and you'll be able to withdraw in a few, in a few weeks, months, whatever it was. Yeah. All right.
So there'll be some. Oh, sorry. Please continue.
No, I'm just saying, like, so after that, so let's say the 3 days pass, you're able to unlock this. Is there going to be a Blast token live? Is it going to be airdrop, or we have to wait another 2-3 months?
No,
Okay.
that's going to be May. So they're going to heavily incentivize people to keep their ETH there, which is a smart move. And yeah, Blast TGE should be in May, so things will be denominated in ETH is my assumption. And yeah, I think like early buyers of NFTs, traders, users of protocols are all going to be rewarded for early activity. And like people are even going ham and buying testnet ETH for Blast Sepulia. So like, yeah, I think these first couple months, just adding to Rudo's bull case, like, is going to be expedited. As an L2, you asked about like what exists in the ecosystem. So as an L2, I think it's going to be fairly similar to some of the others, except for this native yield and some other interesting financial mechanisms. Like, your wallets are going to work there. MetaMask works. They have their own version of Etherscan called BlastScan. The marketplace one, though, is really, really interesting because what I've heard from Pac-Man in an AMA a week and a half ago was that Blur actually won't be live day one. So someone's going to be a temporary NFT marketplace leader. And the other interesting thing is, are they going to enable creator royalties or not? So no idea. There are a couple marketplaces I know of, but I don't know which one's going to emerge like over the weekend as the leader.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Just because, like, one of like my thoughts was, okay, well, they did the successful vampire attack on OpenSea. Now they're going to do like an L2. I suspect that they'll do like this vampire attack on other L2s, and people will just, hey, listen, like new projects will just go to Blur for the most part. I'm sure they will thrive, but I do think that there will see a mass kind of stuff. And one of the biggest value propositions would be just trading on Blur. So it's interesting that Pac-Man, maybe he just didn't feel the tech was ready and is willing to let a couple of other companies lead it. Do you know by any chance if it will be like more of like an open sea, Magic Eden type experience, or more like a Blur type, trends, or if you've talked to any of these marketplaces?
Legit, it's No idea. It's
Okay.
so hard to know. So the two that I'm aware of are When Exchange has been getting a little bit of buzz. I've chatted with those guys. They're great. We're actually on the homepage, so we like them even more. But they should be ready to go. I've also seen like Element.fi. I wasn't able to get confirmation that they'll be ready to go, but they should be. So that's another reason that we might not try to launch like immediately because there's truly so many unknowns in this situation that are just unique to where we are with Blast.
Yeah, no doubt. I did want to get to T-Mobile and I believe Wiz to chat a little bit about Pluto Misfits. Is there anything specific about the project that I didn't ask? And you're obviously still welcome in to chime in, but I did want to give you an opportunity in case I didn't ask something, or maybe there's something on your mind that you wanted to share regarding New Blast City or just Blast as an L2.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. You asked some great questions. We covered a lot. I would just urge people, there's still some opportunities to get some last minute whitelists. So check us out. Take a look at our art. Read through, our pinned thread to learn a little bit more about us. We'll be announcing all these mint details very, very soon. Hopefully tonight. One other cool thing about Blast, so we will be rewarding our holders. So like similar to a lot of projects, NFT projects that are launching on Blast, you're actually going to be able to earn, and like Blast is really encouraging and enabling that. So teams are getting their developer airdrops. Like their Blast is building mechanisms to actually reward send that back, distribute that to NFT holders, which is super super cool. So we're looking to take advantage of that. And then one other financial innovation that Blast is introducing is protocol fee distribution. So any gas fees collected from protocols, like, for us, it would be like the mint experience, this kind of interactive, like storytelling, voting experience, any staking that we do. And then for Dexes, that all their swaps and everything, and actually on Blast, so you automatically kind of collect those, and then you can distribute those back to your users. So there are these really cool, like royalties are still a question mark, but there are these really, really awesome value accrual methods on Blast that have just never been done before. So it's going to be like a grand experiment.
Very cool. I will get to you, Huda, with your hand up. Just one last question. You did mention you still have whitelist open. I didn't know that because I knew that mint was around the corner. If there's somebody listening right now and they're like, "Hey, I like Neil. This Blast thing sounds pretty cool." How do they participate? Is there a Discord link in your profile? How can they find it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Check out our Twitter profile. Look at the Discord, and then Cappy's going to be your guy. So Cappy's our community manager, much beloved, and he's really the only one with spots left. I honestly don't have any more. I was the kind of collab and partnership guy, so hit up Cappy, partake in his scavenger hunt and whatever else he's cooking up.
All right. When we have well, we're gonna get into the second segment and get there. I'm gonna DM Cappy, see if I can get a whitelist spot that we can raffle here. No promises, guys, but now that I found out, I'm gonna bug my homie since I know Cappy fairly well. See what we can do for you guys. Yeah, dude, Neil, thank you for coming on, dude. Like I said, if you want to hang out and ask questions or talk shop with us, do encourage you to hang out. If you're busy and need to go, no hard feelings. Again, thank you for coming. Do appreciate it. Bullish on you guys. I hope you guys kill it. With that being said, oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I saw you unmute there a second.
Just gonna say, guys, thanks so much. This was great. Awesome show too. I'm gonna have to start listening in more regularly.
Hell yeah, let's go, dude. Appreciate that. All right. Well, with that being said, let's say hi to our other guests. Mr. T-Mobile there. What's going on? Fellow little Nouner, and now pioneer in the Blast ecosystem in a brave new world. What's going on, my friend?
Nothing much, man. Just heads down building mostly.
Yeah, very cool. So, you were kind of. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, T-Mobile. I'm sorry. I told Huda I was going to go to him, and I skipped him. Huda, sorry about that, buddy. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. Honestly, the question will fit anywhere, but I was stuck on that part about Blur being down, right? For a period of time when Blast goes live. Did I hear that right first?
Yeah, I don't think that it's down. It's just not going to support the NFTs right away.
Got it. The
if
Blast
I'm not
layer
mistaken,
NFTs. Neil. Okay. Part of my question too, and again, I said I was going to ask Smooth Brain questions. When you're trading on the Blast marketplaces, are you trading Ethereum NFTs too, or are they Blast NFTs that you're trading?
Yeah, so it should be if you're trading Blur on Blast, it should be an RPC. You know, you change the network just like on OpenSea. I think you have to toggle over from ETH to Matic. Same with Magic Eden from Bitcoin to Solana. So it should be the same situation.
Got it. Makes a ton of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. And I think there's some wallets, right, that'll do it kind of automatically. You don't got to download the RPC there. But all right, cool. Yeah, that should be fairly seamless, and we'll see how it goes on there. Great question, Huda. T-Mobile, my friend. You said your head down's building. You gave me, you're kind of a little bit the inspiration behind this. I had seen Rudo do a Blast Spaces. I had one in the back of my mind. You hit me up and you're like, hey, I have um, Pluto Misfits, and it's going to be on Blast. So when
Pluto
you said
Cats,
that,
English, Pluto
oh,
Cats.
damn, I kept saying Misfits. You should have corrected me in the beginning. Pluto Cats. Why am I saying Misfits? All right. Sorry about that, my friend. Pluto Cats.
All
Pluto
good.
Cats. All right. Now that we got that corrected, Pluto Cats, you hit me up and you said, I have this fantastic idea. Can we come on the show? I said 100%. What are the Pluto Cats, my friend?
So with Pluto Cats, we're building a way to fund creators in Blast using collective yield. And then the way that we raise that collective yield is by issuing membership NFTs that are these pixel art cats.
Yeah. T-Mobile, you still there, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, no, you just gave me a longer intro. I thought you still had more to go to that. So, if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of like the Nouns model, right? But with some kind of different incentives that you think are a little bit more sustainable. And so that's kind of what I was asking about in terms of like maybe someone that doesn't even know about Nouns DAO, doesn't know about how DAOs work, even from like a fundamental level. I just maybe a high level walkthrough that would be great.
Cool. Yeah. No, I think talking about Nouns is perfect because actually Nouns is what inspired kind of the idea behind Pluto Cat. So, just to kind of catch the audience up on what the traditional Nouns model is people buy an NFT and these auctions happen daily, and the money from this NFT goes into a shared treasury, and then the NFT token holding a noun gives you rights to propose to spend some of that treasury or do some on-chain action with that treasury value. And then the NFT also allows you to vote on proposals, and you can vote for, against, or abstain. Um, so that's kind of how Nouns works. But one of the things that makes Nouns unsustainable a bit from a protocol perspective is you need enough new people coming in to keep the treasury healthy such that you can continue to issue proposals against this treasury. And there's this race between, and there's some other details of the Nouns protocol too, but there's this race between spending the money, having new people come in, and then just to make things a little bit more complicated, something that Nouns introduced last year was the Nouns fork, which is, as far as I know, one of the first times that a DAO has ever forked before. And with this fork mechanism, for the first time, Nouns holders were able to join a fork DAO, and then they were able to quit their NFT, which exchanged their NFT for book value, which is pretty much the whole treasury split by the number of NFTs, and it's a pro rata share for exchanging their NFT back into the treasury. So that fork mechanism ended up kicking off a series of conversations.
T-Mobile, I'm going to give you a warning because I saw something come up, and it usually means that the space is about to rug in less than a minute. So continue. I'm just giving everybody a fair warning. If we rug, we'll come back on. But when it says the host is unstable, in my experience, this thing is we're on limited time. So let's just assume it's going to continue. So sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to give everybody a fair warning. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for the heads up, English, and I'll just look out for a message if it rugs. But so pretty much there's this new fork mechanism in Nouns, right? So and this kind of made things a little bit more of an issue because now there's this not just people that hold the token potentially taking their value back. There's also an incentive for people to come in and arm the treasury as well. So Now there's this race between spending, between arbors, and you still need new people to come in and still be passionate about putting their money in and not like it's just disappearing. So the way Pluto Cats is different is eventually when we transition to a DAO, Pluto Cats will not spend the value that we collect from NFT holders. Instead, Pluto Cats will only spend the yield on that. So when the DAO kicks off, people will have an opportunity to put up proposals.
Okay, looks like the space is crashed. We're gonna fire it back up, a new link. Nothing will change here. I'm gonna remain live and then just share my screen with the new space. How you guys liking it so far? Sounds great, right? As far as Blast and the project's building on it, like I've got nothing over there, nothing. Um, I knew that was a mistake at the beginning when English and I were chatting, and I said, you know, how much do you think there was maybe issues with traders not having liquidity? I think he's underestimating that because I know it's an issue, right? For me, for a while, it was. I know a lot of other traders who have not been making anything up until very, very recently. So when Blast was announced, they didn't get any funds over and they didn't lock it up. Right now, they probably could start, but I think he might be surprised by how much of that actually is out there. I think a lot of people really didn't have liquidity. We'll see. We'll see. I like these two projects too, by the way, so far. Pluto Cats and New Blast City. I like their story. I like the narrative that a big blast goes off and there's just like the remnants of some kind of city there afterwards. I think it's very cool, and it is great to hear that even if you didn't get your money into Blast, you didn't. Get it now, and you're still going to benefit quite a bit there. All right, let's see if the show's back up. Which it looks like it is. Bear with me just a minute, guys.
Okay. There we go. We'll give it a few there. If you knew anybody that was in the space, maybe send them a link, do some likes, some retweets. That would be greatly appreciated. If you're just joining again, we just got rugged and trying to get this back up over here. Getting in with T-Mobile and Pluto Cats on Blast L2.
Crush. Do we have enough people up? We can chat. And my apologies. I don't know what happened. Well, good call, English, by the way, for the prepared warning. You can tell you've done this before.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't think it's use, per se. Anytime that a connection becomes unstable, it gives you basically. It should just give it like a 1 minute warning. Is what it should say. Like the error message is, the host connection is unstable. But there's literally like a 1 minute thing. It should just be like, hey guys, 1 minute warning, and we're and we're about to bounce, dude. All right, well, great conversation. Hopefully Neil comes back. If not, that's fine. Um, T-Mobile, we got some people in here. I know that some people will trickle in. You were talking about the sustainability model of the nouns kind of ecosystem and this rage quit mechanic. I think you got into the yield portion of it where you're not actually spending the money that the treasury's collected in terms of when somebody buys in, but there is that yield, which is very specific to Blast. So if you want to take it from that point on, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. So just to catch people up, so the way Fluid Cats will work is similar to Nouns, where there will be an NFT membership that you purchase, and then this ETH will be collected in what we're calling a reserve, and then the reserve will earn Blast native yield, and the DAO can use Blast native yield to propose innovative projects on Blast to further the ecosystem. So one thing that's special about Pluto Cats that kind of reduces some of the risk for people who are holding the token is from day one, users can always exit their token. So from day one, you will always have the ability to get book value back for your token. So at even at the beginning of Pluto Cats, there is no concern about like, hey, will I be able to fork or will I be able to quit? The quit function is built into the protocol from day one.
Yeah, very cool. Just in terms of, I guess the first question that comes to mind is that while it sounds like a fantastic idea, I'm sure you have thought this out. It would make sense if there was a certain amount of money locked to have enough money to make something that's kind of there. Like, did you have like a threshold in terms of like how many like NFT sales, how much there where it would be effective, where like this yield would be enough to fund proposals? Like just from like a layman's point of view that hasn't, someone who hasn't really thought this out is like, well, that sounds really cool. And if I had $50 million in the treasury and I'm getting that yield, like that makes a ton of sense. But if I'm just kicking this off, um, what amount of money is there a specific raise that you're looking for where it starts to become effective and this flywheel kind of takes on?
Yeah, no, I honestly don't think there's necessarily a magic number. Of course, more ETH in the reserve will result in more ETH yield to spend on proposals. But I'm glad that you mentioned Flywheel, because one thing that's really interesting about Pluto Cats is when you start to pull out some of these risks, like, oh, well, am I going to have liquidity for my NFT if and when I need the liquidity or I want to sell it? With the exit function, or also some of the risk of like, hey, I contributed to this treasury and now we're spending against what I contributed to. Do I necessarily agree with what we're spending on? Um, and, instead, what we do with Pluto Cats is we use the yield. So I think reducing some of this risk is actually going to make it more likely that ETH floods in to the Pluto Cats protocol. And, in terms of like a magic number, I think that's really difficult to say, but we know what ETH yield is. So of course, the more ETH we have in the treasury, the more stuff we can fund with the native yield from Blast.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And just being like a new protocol and having incentivized for builders, is there like any grants from the plant, from the Blast or any types of other kind of ways to get funding to get a good Kickstarter for this? Because I do think if I've been in Nouns for a while. I think you've been around longer and quite a bit of people. I do think that this will be attractive for people to experiment. Maybe some people that felt disenfranchised in Nouns. Maybe some people that are curious about like a Nouns V2 that has like a different dynamic that because I mentioned Flywheel, you reiterated on it, but that was the idea, right? That hey, listen, you're going to buy this now,
Yeah.
but we're going to use the money to proliferate, and that's the flywheel to get more people in. So I think it is attractive, as you mentioned, just because you can leave and you don't have to worry about what you spent. The proposal spending the money that you put in. It is just extra money. But I was just curious if there's any ways to get you guys kickstarted.
Yeah, can I add some color to this?
Go for it,
English. So I think so naturally any ecosystem, there's a huge incentive to have a DAO or some kind of community that's willing to fund innovation on that platform. So if you look at stuff like Farcaster, you have Purple DAO. Nouns, it was built to just proliferate itself. And kind of a big part of this flywheel is that, hey, we're all Blast enthusiasts. Like if we're all here participating in the Blast ecosystem from the beginning, like we want to ensure that the ecosystem stays healthy and there's opportunities for people to contribute and to get funded for doing that. And in regards to like how much ETH do you need to get yield to make this sustainable, I think it's not really that important. There's a couple of other ways that the protocol works that helps make up for some of that. Um, so the in the protocol, the DAO, like governance over the DAO, isn't done through the PlutoCat NFTs. The PlutoCat NFT is kind of like your membership card that says, "Hey, like I have rights to the ETH in this reserve." Um, to actually do governance, we're going to be releasing a governance token, uh, and that controls all the governance that's done in the DAO. And so you can also like see a future where um, to reward contributions or like kind of like as a form of compensation, like you would want to introduce as many people to governance as possible, and you can do that by giving people governance token as kind of like a contribution incentive. Um, and so I think naturally over time, like if you believe in the Blast ecosystem, like you would want to be a member of Pluto Cats because you would want the ecosystem to continue to thrive. And Blast is interesting, right? Like when you move your ETH to Blast, you're essentially staking your ETH and earning yield from that, and earning points for doing it. Blast is also set up that users will earn Blast points for using a lot of these protocols as well, for like staking ETH into contracts and stuff like that. So potentially, like there's a future where like owning a Pluto Cat, like you'll continue to earn Blast points just for being part of the community. And that's really like none of this was really possible without some of the innovation that Blast has done to get us here.
Yeah, very cool. Very excited. So, like, for someone like myself, we heard New Blast City say they want to be fairly early. I guess what part of the process are you guys? I know you guys particularly are devs. Do you guys got the contract? Do you have the art? Are you building out the community? Where are we in this Pluto Cats journey?
Yeah, I mean, you guys can go to our website. We have a introductory blog post that kind of goes over all of the details of how Pluto Guides works and shows some example of the art and stuff. We're mostly ready. We're going through an audit process now. Um, Obviously, security is like super important for us. Um, and then once we are finished with the audits, we're going to plan to launch. I don't have an exact date for everybody, but it would be within a week or two after mainnet. So relatively soon. Um, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
All right. So if anybody's listening and they want some a blast exposure, L2 exposure, maybe some DAO exposure, we do have it pinned to the top over there. So there is Pluto Cats. We did hear from New Blast City, and earlier in the show, we didn't kind of give us our bull thesis of why you should have some exposure. Obviously, T-Mobile, with some experienced builders within our Little Nouns community. Very proud of them. We are going to wrap this up fairly soon. We did get rugged. We're a little bit over time, but I don't mind extending it. T-Mobile, Wiz, is there anything that I didn't ask directly that maybe you wanted to touch on about the project or about Blast itself?
Yeah, I will say one other thing. So we are heavily inspired by nouns, but one thing that we think is like really important is that there's a fair launch and a fair distribution. So there are no founder rewards, anything like that for Pluto Cats. We'll be deploying the contracts and we'll be participating just like everybody else. I think like if you do like founder allocations for protocols, like you really uh, like manipulate what's like the fairness of how everything plays out in the future. And our goal is really to like, hey, we want to build a sustainable community protocol, be like the canonical community on Blast, and we want it to be as fair as possible.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense because I know you guys have mentioned, including kind of this rage quit mechanic. And I do think that one of the reasons that rage quit was implemented in Downs was kind of that founder allocation, which might have made a ton of sense. in 2021 when NFTs were only going to appreciate in value, and even if you spend 100 ETH on your nouns, the treasury is only going to get bigger and it's going to be worth 500 ETH in a year. And so people didn't really care. Kind of the same way people didn't care about gas at the time because you spend 300 bucks, but it was going to be worth a lot more. So people were like, well, we'll just let them get their portion. But as time continued and voting became a little bit more contentious, that might have been one drawback for sure. So thanks for the clarity on that. I have my friend King Titus the Third over here, joining the Little Nouns show for the first time. What's going on, my friend? GM, welcome.
Hey man, sorry I joined a little bit late. Do you think you could give me like a 2 minute high level recap, please?
Yeah, so we got rugged over here and we were finishing the show. So fortunately, half of our audience found us. So we're talking about Blast. So this show is the Little Noun show. We do this show to do a little like cross pollination between the Little Nouns community and people that are building outside of the Nouns DAO process. So we featured Blast. We had in the first half, we had New Blast City, a PFP project. We had my friend Rudo, who's been in contact with a lot of builders. And then there's a couple guys over here, T-Mobile and Wiz, builders within Nouns, but they're also devs. And they're going to deploy like the first DAO for Blast's L2 system. And there were some nuances that they wanted to cover, what they've learned from being in Nouns, what they think have been some failure points, and maybe why some people have felt disenfranchised in being those. And they think that being in Blast gives them unique, I guess, values proposition, most significantly, the yield of how they will actually get money, that you could still leave the actual DAO, get your money intact, and only spend this yield in terms of proposals. A couple of other nuances that they touched on, and I won't get too far into detail. And so we still have T-Mobile and Wiz. If you wanted to ask a question or chime in about Blast L2 itself or about this particular project, Pluto Cats, go ahead.
So what I'm understanding is you guys are taking the native yield from Pluto Cats and reinvesting that. How? I missed that part.
Yeah. So I mean, I could give you like a general overview over the project. Kind of like the one paragraph is that we're building a way to fund creators in the Blast ecosystem. And so, are you familiar with nouns at all? Like the concept of nouns?
Yes.
Okay. And so the idea is like we're calling it social staking. It's like we can all pull together our capital and we could take the yield that's earned from that capital and we can govern over it. And that's how we'll fund creators. That's how we'll do cool things, whatever, right? Fund ideas. And it's for all of Blast. It's not like nouns where it's like, hey, like if you want to participate in this DAO, like you have to work on things that's just for proliferating our project. It's more like, hey, we want to support an entire ecosystem and we want to leave it open for anybody to participate and kind of like make cool stuff, right?
King Titus, I know you from Ordinals, and did you come over to Ordinals from Ethereum? And if not, or if so, either way, have you been following the Blast ecosystem? I'm just curious from a...
Yeah, I actually deposited in Blast like a month and a half ago. So I've got about 2 ETH in there. And I've been just doing my spins and stuff. I have my Flashbit whitelist. I got my free tokens from that. I'm really just trying to explore and prepare as much as I can to try and see what airdrops I can get and, maximize my opportunities in Blast. I'm really interested in these NFT projects on Blast, and this Pluto Cats looks really, really good. I mean, Nouns obviously is a very high level project. If you guys are able to accomplish this the way you say, then I think this is a fantastic project. I think you guys are onto something really great and unique, something that you don't really see going across chain and doing other things. So yeah, I think that this is fantastic.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. You're rugging a little bit, but I heard 90% of it for sure.
Yeah, so because I'm talking low. My mic is cut.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, this is kind of why we did this show, and I think you'll see this more. I had Rudo, who's a buddy of mine, come on, and he's kind of been an ambassador for a lot of these projects or just talking to them, maybe doing some advisory work. And so you're in Ordinals with me, and you saw what just like an asymmetrical opportunity there was. And for me, my case, and I know some people will disagree, I just think that Ethereum has been flat. I think from an NFT project standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, we've seen some interest into projects. Mostly Pudgy. I know there's other ones, but mostly around token drops. I think there's been some good work done on like the DeFi side, some good work done on like lending side. So there's are more products on Ethereum, but I think from the cultural level, there's not a lot of new stuff coming out. And I think Blast L2 will change that. I think people are going to do well. The people that bridge like off of yourself, they're going to do well. I think that the L2 on Ethereum, I think will be very attractive for people that don't want to leave Ethereum for Solana because they like the Ethereum culture and they want a gasless transaction. And I think there's going to be a lot of incentives to build on there. So I think there's going to be a culture. I think there's going to be consumers. There's going to be people like T-Mobile and Wiz coming up with some new stuff out there or new twists on stuff. And so yeah, dude. So definitely would recommend to explore more. There was New Blast City earlier. I know Rudo has a list maybe put something together. So yeah, appreciate you coming on and asking. We are going to wrap this up. It's about an hour show. We're about 10 or 15 minutes, but I'll give it to Wiz and T-Mobile. Maybe there's something that you wanted to add.
Can I just add one last thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, how do I get involved in Pluto Cats if I wanted to get involved?
Oh, that's for Wiz. Wiz, how does he get involved into Pluto Cats?
Well, we'll be launch. We're going through audits right now. We'll be launching over the next couple of weeks, and so like what I would say is, follow us on Twitter, go to the website, join the Discord, hang out there, and we'll be providing more information on that. But yeah, really like what we're trying to do with Pluto Cats is like take everything that we've learned from being in Nouns over the past couple of years and iterate on that and like try to build the future of what it looks like to be part of a DAO. And I think Blast gives us, some unique things that we could take advantage of to make that more fun for everybody. So yeah, follow Pluto Cats and
yeah, very cool. Yeah, so King Titus or anybody listening, we did pin Pluto Cats to the top. So there's a tweet. You can click on that tweet. I'd say scroll and you can see the other tweets, but I just remembered we did get rugged and we lost those pins. So we did have New Blast City. King Titus, if you want, I know that there's a list of projects that are about to launch. So if you aren't aware, I believe it was announced that in 3 days this is going to go live. There's going to be some marketplaces for trading. There's going to be some we don't know exactly, so I think everybody's finding out in real time. But as the New Blast City representative Neil, maybe one of the founders, came on and said there is going to be a little gold rush effect going on where people are going to try to get in early, build out a culture pretty soon. So if you do want some exposure to that, obviously Pluto Cats is one way. New Blast City. Those are the two that we had, and there's many more. So I'm happy to hit you up in the DMs if you are interested. And if not, we'll just. All right, fantastic. Yep. T-Mobile, Wiz, we're about 15 minutes over. Sorry that we got cut short a little bit with the rugging there. Any final words about Pluto Cats that you want to share that maybe we didn't cover?
I think we're good. Appreciate
All right.
I think we covered it.
Time. Thank you for having us on, and we'll see you guys.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for joining. We do the show every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, do a little cross proliferation, get everybody a chance to know about a Little Nouns DAO. We do have over $1 million in the treasury. We do fund builders, fantastic devs like T-Mobile and Wiz who have had successful projects within Nouns and Little Nouns and now building outside of Little Nouns. This show itself is sponsored by Little Nouns DAO. We do media that way. Also, B-Check, another we can go on and on. Fantastic builders. If you do have any skills, talents, want to be part of a DAO, be part of a movement, potentially get funded, highly recommend you reach out to myself, Huda, Crusher, who's behind the Little Nouns account. Find the Discord. We're happy to chime in with you. Other than that, we'll see you next week and appreciate everybody for tuning in. Crusher, Huda, final words before we wrap up? Are we good to go?
We're good to go, but dude, I was hoping to learn here, and I learned.
So can we just repeat the whole thing again?
Oh God.
Okay. So, all right. So you started. I'm not going to join. And best of luck, my friend.
There we go. No, from what I did here, it was great. So thank you, English, for leading us fearlessly. And sorry about the rugging. And yeah, we're thrilled to have you guys on board.
All right, fantastic. You heard it here first. We'll see you again Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern next week. Have a great week.
There we go. Our first Lil Nouns show streamed live. That's not actually totally true. I kind of did it last week, a very much a test version of it. We'll keep iterating. We're going to bring this live on YouTube, though, on top of X. It's just nice to have some visuals along with, hearing people speak about these awesome new platforms, products. A lot of building going on here. You got to show it to everybody the widest way you can. So now on YouTube, I think that's going to be pretty excellent. Give these guys a follow, right? The Little Nouns Show, English. You can follow me while you're at it, I guess, too. Follow Crypto Slam. This show, I don't know if you caught this, and I'll give you a little sneak peek here. I have teased a couple times that we have maybe some content coming out. So I'll show you again here. We are building, again, consider this like a beta, but an umbrella of content creators. Lil Nouns Show is on it. My morning update show is also on this. You see NFT Live, they are there too. But we got a lot more cooking. Some pretty good shows that'll be on this platform here. It's good, exciting times ahead of us here. But yes, dude, WX, great to see you here. And man, just definitely exciting. I, again, have nothing over in Blast. Nothing. And I know that's a mistake. Never financial advice here, but clearly they're building something very innovative. Interesting that Blur is going to be down, right? The Blur marketplace is not going to be up when Blast goes live initially. What does that mean? Like, man, I guess the Ethereum stuff stays up in live trading. I assume that's right? You can't trade Blast NFTs over on Blur. If I'm wrong and Blur is actually down, well, then all that trading volume goes to Magic Eden. So I think I heard that wrong, right? I think it's going to be just Blast. You can't trade there. Either way, very exciting week ahead of us. Tomorrow, the Magic Eden Ethereum marketplace goes live, which is absolutely massive. 2 days after that, we have the Blast Layer 2 and their marketplace going live. It's bull season officially. Between Bitcoin and those two things, it's on and just getting started. So very exciting things ahead of us. Anyone who's there watching, it's just a couple of you, but any questions and thoughts about Blast in general or the NFT market? And if not, that's cool. I'll just say then that tomorrow morning, like usual, your 5-minute morning update. We get into all the news. We get into all the happenings. It'll be a good time. Cool. Good stuff, guys. Well, appreciate you coming out. We'll see you next time. See ya.